Well, just like to welcome everyone to the Social Centre tonight on this very good Friday. This is a public meeting to kick off Socialist Workers National Conference for 2011. And Grant Morgan, who's a current International Secretary for Socialist Worker, got a presentation for us. And the title of it is Terminal 5, How Arab Revolutions and Unnatural Disasters Fit the 5 Terminal Crises of Global Capitalism. Grant's going to speak for probably roughly 40 minutes, and he assures me of this, and I've actually seen it, and I think that will be the case. And there'll be plenty of opportunity for discussion afterwards. Okay, so it's all yours, Grant.
Cool. Thank you everyone for coming out on this Friday night. It's good to see you all. I think there'll be some more people coming, and there's been quite a few apologies. Now the two towering world events so thus far in 2011 are the Arab Revolutionary Wave and the Japanese disaster, the triple calamity, the quake, the tsunami and the nuclear meltdown. And my intention tonight is to explore these events in a whole of system way. Now 27,000 people were killed in the Japan's megaquake and tsunami, 11th of March. Countless others, not just in Japan but around the world, have been put at risk from the spread of contaminated material from the Fukushima tsunami damaged nuclear reactors. And it's going to take a decade to get clarity on how many are going to actually be harmed, particularly around the northern hemisphere, from that contamination. Now, a freak combo, this is what the Japanese leaders are saying, a freak combo of natural disasters is to blame for the calamity. Now, these Japanese leaders are keen actually to avoid the hard questions. Why was a nuclear power plant constructed on the fearsome Ring of Fire, which generates 80% of the world's major quakes, and why build a plant so close to shore? We can't be looking at a uniquely Japanese error of judgment, since nearly half of America's nuclear reactors are sited near major fault lines. And some are just a stone's throw from the ocean. A case in point, San Onofre nuclear plant near California's highly volatile San Andreas fault sits right on the beach, just a breakwater as some sort of token defence against any tsunami. Now, siting nuclear plants in clearly hazardous locations is madness from a health and safety point of view, or from an environmental perspective. But capitalism's law of profit requires all economic activity, including nuclear plants, to return a quick buck. So risks are taken, and if bad stuff happens, society pays the price. Thus the Japanese government is looking at raising taxes to support Fukushima's owners. Who are they called? The Tokyo Electric Power Company. They're going to get support from extra taxes raised by the Japanese government. And that was revealed just 2 days ago by the Japanese Trade and Industry Minister with an unpronounceable name which I won't try. Oh, gee. I'm impressed, Dave. Thank you. Now, the system is genetically predisposed to reward insane risk-taking by the nuclear industry. And that's the very real, natural or unnatural disaster of Fukushima. US President Obama, in October 2009, said America should follow the example of Japan's safe nuclear energy. Now, Obama remains a nuke duke after Fukushima, and he's bankrolling 20 nuclear plants, the first to be built in America for 3 decades. They form part of Washington's tripartite energy plan. And that tripartite plan is offshore drilling, clean coal, supposedly clean, and nuclear power. Despite token bows to renewable energy, other powerful states are in lockstep with Washington. Why? Well, because under the law of profit, solar and wind power make economies less competitive than oil, gas, coal and nuclear. Very simple. So world capitalism remains hooked on fuels which are running out fast and fouling our planet, and as we all know, life-threatening climate change is one consequence. Now, in recent years, geologists have linked climate change with upheavals inside the Earth's crust, earthquakes and eruptions. And Professor Bill Maguire, he's the director of the Hazard Research Centre at the University College London, says rising sea levels from ice melts can load and bend the Earth's crust. The result? Magma can be squeezed out in volcanic eruptions, and earthquake faults can be activated, spawning landslides and tsunamis. For example, eruptions in Alaska's Pavlov volcano tend to happen during that part of the season when the regional sea level is merely 30 centimetres higher than it is at other times. 30 centimetres. Maguire says, quote, "You don't need huge changes to trigger responses from the crust. The changes can be tiny." Earthquakes can also be triggered by the unloading of the Earth's crust as global warming melts ice from mountain ranges, such as New Zealand's Southern Alps, and that's another finding from Maguire. Other scientists agree. Professor Patrick Wu, geologist at the University of Alberta, states, quote, "The pressure of the ice sheet suppresses earthquakes, so removing that load triggers them." Now, we simply cannot say yet if climate change was a factor in Japan's earthquake and tsunami, or if the quakes that have devastated Christchurch have a climate change factor either. We cannot say whether or not that is so. There are simply not the facts on the ground yet, or the detailed research done. However, statistics from recent decades do suggest an upswing in seismic events. According to the US Geological Survey, the number of earthquakes worldwide almost doubled between 1990 and 2008. Now that's the total quakes. We're stopping at 2008 because that's the last year complete records were kept. There was also a steep climb in megaquakes, like Japan's, from 4 in the 1980s to 6 in the 1990s to 13 in the last decade. While we should remain cautious about a statistical blip, these figures do fit with geological evidence from long ago. Earth's previous eras of climate change were marked by an increase in the frequency and the intensity of earthquakes and eruptions. Looking back to other periods in our planet's history, says Maguire, when the climate was swinging about wildly, far more than the weather was affected. The solid Earth also became restless, with an increase in volcanic activity, earthquakes, giant submarine landslides and tsunamis. 800,000 years of activity from 50 volcanoes in California were analysed by Professor Glasner, a volcano expert at the University of North Carolina. He said, quote, "The peaks of volcanic activity occurred when ice was retreating globally." Other scientists, he said, also found evidence of that climate affects volcanism. So, it seems that Earth will always respond to climate change as a single, integrated system governed by nature's irresistible laws. Yet nature's laws are at odds with capitalism's law of profit, the main driver of global warming activities. The conclusion? To protect life on Earth, humanity must escape the law of profit.